1. 2001, June, Winter Park, Florida. I was rotating my rollerblade wheels in my living room. I was sitting in my sofa chair and it took a couple of hours. When I was done, I was missing a wheel. It was a neon pink wheel. I looked everywhere, and moved out 4 months later and never found it. I didn't have any pets, and my roommate wasn't there. 2010, I was living with my ex. My mom had bought me a pirate shot glass from Key West. Whenever we would take shots, it was from mismatched shot glasses. I hardly had any shot glasses in the first place. I had the pirate shot glass for about 6 months, until my significant other had broken it. I was sad. About 3 months later, I was looking in my car for something. In the center console, I found a Ziploc bag with something wrapped in paper, and it was the same shot glass. I asked my mom if she had only bought me one, which I remember. 2016. Missing items, spring. I had a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses. I'm the type of person who doesn't lose or break shit. I put them on my dining room table along with another item. I went to bed and woke up the next morning and they were gone. I immediately thought my ex moved them. I soon realized I had gone to bed after him and woke up before him. I had cats and cleaned the litter box a couple of days later. I have never known a cat to bury items in their litter box. The next time, a few days later, I cleaned it again. I found one of the lenses to my sunglasses buried deep in the litter. I have since moved the couches and moved out, and never found the rest. 2016. I was seen by people, but I don't remember being there. My boss has a warehouse, but I only go there when I'm needed. His wife sometimes hires me to, but she's never there. I hadn't had work there in a while, and I remembered not being there. His wife set me up with a job, and the day before I called her to confirm. She said, basically, she saw on the warehouse cameras I was there, and told her office manager to call his office manager at the warehouse to tell me the job was cancelled. I said that didn't happen at all, and I hadn't been there in weeks. She said you came in and used your laptop, or someone's laptop, in the office. I didn't even have a laptop, nor do I ever hang out in the office. I was really confused, because like 4 people supposedly saw me. I thought she was trying to fuck with me or something, so I just blew it off. But there aren't a lot of people who go in and out of there. About 8 months later, she said there were some people stealing shit, and I said the video quality must not be that good because you saw me there that time and I wasn't really there. She continued to tell me the exact same story as 9 months before and showed me the video quality was clear. 2016. Moon changed directions. I was driving to work and the sun was setting, and I noticed how pretty it was to see the moon setting also against an orange sky. About 6 hours later, I was driving back home and the moon was directly over me. 2016. Our store had SFGN, which is South Florida Gay News. One day I looked at it and it said San Francisco Gay News, and it had articles pertaining to San Fran. I thought maybe they just took a week off or something. It then went back to South Florida and I asked a distributor and he had no idea what I was talking about. 2016, summer. I found out about Mandela effects and glitches. I was outside my work and noticed a guy walking by, and saw him walk past 3 minutes later coming from the same direction. I really don't think he walked all the way around the building. 2. This has been happening to me for many years, but this day it kept happening to the point of being ridiculous. It started with my husband showing me that he'd gotten the same text from the same number exactly 1 year and 2 hours apart. Not too crazy because it was a receipt from a company, but still funny because it means that without realizing it, he made the same purchase exactly 1 year before. Later on Tuesday, 2 friends, Darren and Lily, texted me. Lily is a longtime friend from college, while Darren is an online friend of mine and my husband's, so they've never met. They didn't even know about each other. Darren and I were chatting and started discovering some weird coincidences, like we have the same favorite number, 27, and a bunch of other number-related similarities. Then Lily texted me to tell me that she and her husband had just bought a house with the same address as our college apartment. Another number coincidence. Then Darren asked if I had ever seen the funny David Blaine parody videos where the guys are so amazed by the tricks because he felt like he was those guys being all amazed by our number similarities. I was shocked because I used to watch those videos over and over with Lily, back when we lived in that apartment she had just texted about. And the syncs kept going. A little while later, he made a joke about poems being written in New Orleans, referencing a poem I have framed in my house that I once texted him a picture of. What he didn't know was that Lily paid the street poet in New Orleans to write that poem for me. And then, a little while later, Lily texted me a picture of our husbands from the exact night she bought me the poem, saying, "We need to make more memories like this." I have 14 years worth of memories with Lily, but she happens to reference the one night just after Darren had unknowingly referenced it himself. It was getting weird, and I was kind of glad when it finally stopped. But there was one more. My same friend Darren, who is a middle-aged Asian man, by the way, sometimes jokes about how I could never go hungry because I have a wholesome nature that will make people want to take care of me. At sunset, I left the house and went for a walk with my kids. I just turned the corner of our street when a middle-aged lady who was Asian pulled over and asked me if we lived in the house on the corner. I said that we didn't, and she said okay, and handed me a little bag of popcorn out the car window. We said thank you and she drove off, but then pulled over again, and when we walked past again, she came over to us, handed me a bag of fruity snacks and a little carton of cereal, and gave me and my baby a hug, then walked away again. It was a very touching sync to end the day with. 3. To review if you haven't seen my other posts. In 2006, I was driving through North Las Vegas and went to a parallel place where the streets were different. I eventually came back to my universe, or however you want to look at it, but it's not something I'll ever forget. A few weeks ago, the same thing happened again in a different part of town. I drove through an area I am extremely familiar with, and everything was off, very off. An entire planned community and all its associated streets and a shopping center had vanished. And streets that don't intersect in my universe intersected because the development wasn't in the way. Again, I eventually came out of it, and going back, everything was how it was supposed to be again. The two glitches I've posted were minor. A speaker that had a JBL logo on it changed to Harman Kardon. And last night, an Uber Eats customer swore I'd been her Uber driver from the airport once, and recalled details about our conversation that couldn't have been a coincidence. But I've never made airport drives or even Uber passenger rides. Only ever done food delivery. Again, very weird, but little stuff. Tonight I just confirmed that somewhere along the line, I've actually switched into a different place, and there's no getting around it. Leaving Planet Hollywood, ex-wife in car with me. We work together. She's born and raised in Vegas. I've lived there roughly 18 years now. We both know this city better than we know the backs of our own hands. We're heading from Planet Hollywood to Spring Mountain Road to get to a destination in West Vegas towards Summerlin. Details so many locals reading can relate and verify things. As we get to the strip, I go straight across on Harmon instead of turning on the strip. She looks at me funny and asks where I'm going. I'm either going to take the freeway or just follow Harmon west and take Valley View or Decatur. How? Why are you staying on Harmon? Why wouldn't I? She looks at me weird. So here's the thing. I'm planning to either take the Harmon Viaduct they built when City Center went up, over to Valley View like I've done 100 times, or take the auxiliary ramp from said viaduct onto the Frank Sinatra access to the I-15 like I've also done 100 times, depending on traffic. Except after we passed through city centre, it becomes immediately obvious why she thought I was crazy. There are no auxiliary ramps from the viaduct, and Harmon dead ends just past the very short viaduct. This is not how that road has gone for the last 8 or so years of my life. In my universe, part of the city centre project included a huge expansion of Harmon Road through there, including a long viaduct that went over the freeway, and another bridge over the train tracks that previously broke up the little Harmon Road into pieces, making it a significant thoroughfare, complete with ramps from said viaduct down to Frank Sinatra, and freeway access on one side of 15, and access to James Dean Boulevard on the other. Also, I've been looking at maps, and the bridge over the train tracks isn't a thing. Harmon, west of the freeway, is still a ragtag little street that stops and starts several times. They don't exist, and according to people I've talked to in the last couple of hours, never have. Except they did. For years. At least from wherever the fuck I'm from, I've used them both many, many times. So yeah, I'm a little weirded out right now. No, I'm not on drugs. No, it's not carbon monoxide. No, I'm not diagnosed with schizo or something related. I am high-functioning autistic, technically. OPDD because I'm too high-functioning to be considered autistic or some crap, whatever. I think differently than others and have weird emotional patterns compared to normative folks. But I've made it through 40 plus years pretty well so far. Everything else seems to be just as it should be, at least as far as I can tell. But I haven't gone back this time. I'm here, and Harmon Road is different. 4. Some background first. As a child, tween, young teen, I had about 100 pen pals, people I was writing actual letters with from all over the world. We eventually sent each other pictures of ourselves. But until then, you had no idea what the other person looked like, and you had to make your own mental image of them. So I had a lot of experience guessing someone's looks from their handwriting and writing style. And sometimes I was really good at it, even in a way that was eerie. In some cases I knew someone's facial features before I saw their photo, and we generally didn't even write about basic stuff like hair color. But in other cases I was wrong, or just partially right, or mostly right. So that's definitely not the glitch. The glitch is actually the opposite in a way. I stopped writing letters at all when I found a really close group of friends on an online forum in January 2002, when I was 18. I've had the internet since 1998, but it took me over 3 years to find people I clicked with. Quite a few of us are still friends to this day, on Facebook and through other channels. Only one of these people I have met in real life 2 years ago. The situation when it comes to looks was similar. At some point someone sent you their pictures. There were very few places where profiles had the user's pictures, but you just posted them on your forum or sent them by email. Until then, you just made do with your own imagination, because we didn't generally talk about what we looked like. In this case, not even handwriting was there, just the style of writing. Now the actual glitch. It's 2003, and by that time, I had seen many pictures of most of my friends already. Some of them I guessed mostly correctly, some of them not. Nothing special about any of that. I only hadn't seen one of the closest friends by then, let's call her Kim, for the entire year that we knew each other. Or more than a year and a half at that point. I had a very well-defined mental image of her, long dark hair, tall, no glasses, quite clear facial features that I can no longer remember well, but still remember a bit. Then one night I have a dream. I'm in my elementary school, I was 19 at that point, walking down the stairs when I suddenly nearly bump into a classmate who was my enemy. He doesn't want to let me pass. In the dream he's not a young kid, he's about my actual age then. Next to him, a little behind him, is a girl I don't know, short with short blonde hair, glasses and Very clear facial features that, at that point, are completely unfamiliar to me and don't match the mental image in the slightest. I'm annoyed at this situation and I ask him, "And who is that?" He says matter-of-factly, "That's Kim." So I'm even more annoyed because he's not just trying to bully me, but he's lying to me about my friend that he has no business knowing in the first place. I tell him that in some form, and I wake up. In the morning, I'm mostly amused by how ridiculous this dream was, and I immediately go tell her. Which is what all of us always did, talk about pretty much everything right away, especially when something reminded us of one of the friends. But something tells me to make it sort of a game. Mostly because why not? But also because I want to make sure she believes me if it turns out to be true. So I basically say, "Hey Kim, when you have a while I'd love to see your picture. And I now want to ask you a few questions about your looks. I'll tell you why later. Do you have dark hair? Nope. Do you have long hair? Nope." I'm not sure anymore if I asked her about her height, but I definitely said, "Okay, at least tell me that you don't wear glasses." I wear glasses. At this point, I'm already a bit freaked out. And then she posts her pictures later that day. At that point, it still took a while because you mostly had to scan them. And it's the exact same facial features in addition to all the other details that the girl in the dream had. It is literally her 100%. I told her about the dream and we freaked out together. And she mostly just found it cool. Since then, I've hundreds, if not thousands, of her pictures. I talked to her about it a few more times, but only until 2005 or so. To be honest, I think keeping this topic alive after that would freak her out. But it's been nearly 15 years and I still think about it very often. Nearly every time she posts new pictures. I've had a few other glitches in my life, but I think this is the most unexplainable one. 5. Okay, so I am not new here. I've been reading this thread and others for quite some time. But this is my first time posting. I was just telling my friend about an older story that I recently read, about a guy who went to a toilet at a water park and exited through another door in another dimension, mirroring his own, yet empty. And I didn't even finish my story that she shouted, "Frankfurt Airport." So we're both students in the UK. We have known each other for years and are BFFs and so on. Last year we were going home for Christmas and we had to stop for a few hours in the Frankfurt Airport. We got out of a really big Lufthansa plane, so there were a lot of people around us. Additionally, this is quite a big international airport. We walked through it to visit the shops and find a place to eat. There were a lot of people everywhere. It was around 6 in the evening, I guess, especially since the shops were open. We went to a McDonald's and ate. Stayed there for about 20 to 30 minutes, we talked, we laughed, and had our attention distracted. After we ate, we figured that we should try to go and find the gate for our flight. We left the McDonald's and went back to the main street in the airport. And it was empty. Everywhere. We still had around 2 hours until the flight, so we weren't in a hurry. We were just chilling on the mobile, moving pavement from the airports. But there was no one. We reached the shops again. Nobody anywhere. Some of them were closed, and we just kept walking and walking, following the signs to our gate. Nobody anywhere. At this point, we were starting to get scared and concerned, making jokes about ghosts and stuff. We had to take the train in the airport to reach another terminal. Nobody anywhere, nobody in the train. We reached the other terminal, still empty. We kept walking, climbing the huge escalators, and we couldn't even hear another person, let alone see one. We kept walking. We were approaching the gate. We went around a corner to go in the direction of the gate, and people kind of, just appeared. Again, there were people everywhere, waiting for their planes and so on. The time was around 7:30 in the evening. We are confident of the time, because she took pictures of the airport and we just verified the time. We have around 6 pictures. 4 of them when there were people and 2 of them when it was empty. I think we walked for over half an hour until we reached civilization, as we called it. We just brushed it off after it happened and only joked about the experience afterwards. However, I always found it really hard to believe that a big international airport, such as the Frankfurt one, can be empty at 7 p.m. I understand that it may be a big airport, but we have also been to Munich a lot of times and it never happened there. Furthermore, for this Christmas break, we had to take the plane from Manchester Airport. We reached the airport at 12:30 a.m. with the last train and had our flight at 6 a.m. Yet the airport was full of people. We barely found a place to stay in the middle of the night, so we just sit on the floor, waiting for the security check to open. My logical explanation for the event so far was that, well, maybe there weren't enough flights that night. And even though it was Christmas and everyone goes home, so there were people just around our gate. But no, there were over 3 pages of flights before our own, each page having 12 flights each, and this huge international airport was empty at 7 p.m. Yet Manchester Airport was full at 1 a.m. Yeah, sure. I would appreciate it if some of you would come up with similar experiences. I also remember reading recently that most dimensional jumps happen when you are transitioning. For example, in places such as airports or train stations, or I never thought this personal experience could be a glitch, as I frequently read the stories from here, and nothing similar happened to me, and I also try to find logical explanations for my experiences. But this time I thought maybe it was worth sharing. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Glitch in the Matrix Stories, episode 52. Thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Well, I hope wherever you folks are right now, you're enjoying better weather than we are, because allegedly we're in for the coldest night of the year so far, and it's already quite chilly, so that's wonderful news. Okay, grumble, grumble, grumble. I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.